All right, good morning and welcome to the Trilateral AI Conference 2024. Dear Ambassador Sigmund, dear Ambassador Setton, dear Mr. Kitano, esteemed speakers, panelists, workshop leaders, distinguished guests here in Tokyo and also online, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to our conference today and tomorrow. Before we open with the opening remarks, let me just say a few words. My name is Axel Karpenstein. I'm the director of the German Center for Research and Innovation, the DWIH, in Tokyo. This conference today and tomorrow highlights our organization's, the DWIH's, role as a platform for connecting researchers and innovators. Usually between Japan and Germany, this time and in the past as well, between all three nations, Germany, France, and Japan. Since 2018, artificial intelligence has been a focal topic for us, underscoring its critical importance in the world. Rather than me introducing you to everything, I thought I'd ask two colleagues to provide you with an overview of the central themes for our conference. I have a little recording here, so you can listen to their conversation.
So, we've gotten a ton of information about this conference happening in Tokyo. Generative AI, pathways to democratization, transparency, and sustainability. And it really seems like AI is like the topic right now. Everyone's talking about it. But what really kind of got me with this conference was how it goes beyond just sort of the hype, and it really explores the bigger picture questions.
Yeah.
How do we make this tech accessible? How do we make it understandable? And, importantly, how do we make sure that it's responsible?
Right. And that's a really, really crucial point. This is not just another, kind of like tech conference. This is a trilateral event.
Right.
So we have leading experts from Germany, Japan, and France all coming together to really address the potential impact of generative AI on, society as a whole.
Yeah. And the organizations behind it are pretty impressive. We've got the DWIH Tokyo, the French Embassy in Japan, the AI Japan R&D Network organizing this thing. And then they've got some serious backing from the Japanese government as well. You got the Cabinet Office, agencies like the Japan Science and Technology Agency and the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science all involved.
Yeah, their involvement really kind of underscores how seriously these governments are taking this whole development of AI. I mean, they're not just interested in the, kind of like technological advancements. They're really actively thinking about how to guide its evolution in a way that benefits everyone.
Maybe up to here. As some or maybe most of you will have noticed, this was an entirely AI-generated web talk that I created simply by using Google Notebook LM. And all that it took was basically feeding our flyer for the event today, tomorrow, into the website. So I thought it would serve as an amazing example, really, of the astounding possibilities of artificial intelligence, which have been significantly expanded by generative AI. I assume you will all agree generative AI offers unparalleled opportunities. I myself, for instance, have used it to create images for PowerPoint presentations, assist my son in preparing for his physics exams or biology exams, brainstorm what to cook in the evening just by taking a picture of what's in the fridge, in our fridge, and edit speeches in English like this one, for example. So the stunning potential of generative AI is really there, but it's also accompanied by significant challenges that we want to discuss in this conference, including the importance of democratization to make AI accessible to all, transparency to foster ethical governance and social acceptance, and sustainability, not only to reduce the heavy environmental impact, for example, in terms of energy consumptions, but also the sustainability of proprietary AI solutions. This AI conference builds on a strong foundation laid in the past by our previous Trilateral AI Symposia. We had one in 2018, one in 2020, one in 2022. So please mark your calendars already for 2026, as we will hopefully be planning our next event then. Each of these events have contributed valuable insights, I think, into the rapidly evolving field of AI. and each has contributed to forming numerous high-quality research collaborations between our three nations, Germany, France, and Japan. This has resulted in a strong and mutually beneficial trilateral partnership and collaboration, I'd like to point out, between our three nations is vital for shaping the future of AI in ways that reflect our collective strengths and also our shared values. I want to express my deepest gratitude to our collaborators, the German Embassy, the French Embassy, the Japanese AI R&D network, and I'd also like to thank our DWIH Tokyo supporters. We have a network of 29 organizations with who we cooperate. So I'd like to thank them by helping us prepare for the event. And I'd also like to thank our incredible DWIH Tokyo team. Some of you may see them around here, who've made the event possible. Before we start with the opening speeches, a little bit of housekeeping, 3 notes, and I think at the beginning you also saw them on the slides. The keynote sessions will be broadcast live, and a recording will be made available through the exact same link that you can find on our website currently. Please refrain from taking photos. We have a professional photographer who takes care of this. Problem with taking photos and videos is that it usually would require prior consent of the parties being photographed. Please help us reduce waste. You have aluminum water bottles. You can refill them in the back. There are water stations there. And thank you for your cooperation. Now, without further ado, let us explore how generative AI can lead us towards a future that's more inclusive, transparent, and sustainable. It's my great honor to firstly invite Her Excellency Petra Sigmund, the Ambassador of Germany in Japan, to the stage. Ms. Sigmund, please.
Good morning, everybody. Dear Ambassador Setton, dear Dr. Kitano, dear Mr. Karpenstein, dear ladies and gentlemen, guests of today's conference. This year, the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics goes to John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton. They are honored for their pioneering work on artificial neural networks. This work laid the groundwork for machine learning and many AI applications we see today. Thanks to scientists like them and like you, AI has become more than just technology. It is shaping our work, our life, our future. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 4th German-Japanese-French Conference on Artificial Intelligence here in Tokyo. This year's conference focuses on generative artificial intelligence. GenAI has rapidly become a significant part of our lives. It is able to generate realistic images, to assist with writing, to support and improve medical diagnosis, and even to have seemingly natural conversations, as was demonstrated just now. The economic and social potential of GenAI is immense and indeed revolutionary. However, GenAI also carries risks. It can spread disinformation or create highly realistic deepfakes. If misused, GenAI can undermine trust in politicians and parties, in democratic institutions, and in democracy itself. On top of that, AI's high energy consumption increases CO2 emissions, thus compromising our climate goals. This conference will address all these challenges over the next 2 days. Germany, Japan, and France, 3 nations united by shared values, are organizing this get-together together. In today's rapidly changing and uncertain geopolitical landscape, the cooperation among like-minded and trusted partners is more important than ever. This is particularly true in the field of AI. We need to make sure that AI is developed and used responsibly. We need to make sure AI remains transparent and accountable. And we need to make sure AI serves the common good. To conclude, Let me get back to this year's Nobel laureate in physics, Geoffrey Hinton. He recently said, "We have no experience of what it is like to have things smarter than us. And it's going to be wonderful in many respects. But we also have to worry about a number of possible bad consequences, particularly the threat of these things getting out of control." So let this conference be guided by his words. Let us embrace the potential of AI with both excitement and responsibility. I wish you all inspiring discussions, and I wish this conference a big success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sigmund. May I now invite His Excellency Philippe Setton, the Ambassador of France in Japan, to the stage.
Thank you. Dear Ambassador, dear Dr. Kitano, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for having me for the opening of this fourth Japanese, German, French AI symposium. You say conference, symposium, conference, that's the same. This gathering is a testament to the strength of the collaboration between our three countries and to the commitment they made during the previous conference when, in a joint statement, they pledged to continue their efforts towards fostering dialogue and cooperation around the challenges and opportunities brought by artificial intelligence. We have kept our word here today, once again, to take the next steps on this endless endeavor. The landscape of AI, particularly generative AI, has evolved tremendously since our last conference. We have witnessed remarkable progress with new breakthroughs shaping industries, transforming economies, and pushing the boundaries of innovation. AI has become more present in our daily lives, and with each advancement, we unlock new possibilities, but the latter also raise scientific, societal, economic, and ethical issues that are paramount. Generative AI stands consequently as a topic of choice for this new Trilateral conference. Over the past 2 years, France has made notable strides in the AI sector, driven by the France 2030 investment plan, which aims to develop technological innovation in my country. This has spurred the growth of several pioneering startups, such as Mistral AI, whose advancements in open weight models have gained international recognition. And furthermore, over 500 million euros have been allocated to establish 9 AI clusters, focusing on cutting-edge areas like generative AI and trustworthy AI. However, while competition drives progress, collaboration is equally vital, particularly in a field as complex and interdisciplinary as AI. It is essential to integrate diverse perspectives from experts across different fields, different countries, and different cultures. France, Japan, and Germany, or should I say Germany, Japan, and France, sorry, are united by a shared commitment to harness the transformative potential of technology while safeguarding the fundamental values of privacy, individual freedoms, and human dignity. This symposium, by addressing the complexities of generative AI through the lenses of democratization, transparency, and sustainability, exemplifies this shared vision. Democratization ensures that AI's benefits are accessible to all, breaking down geographical, social, and economic barriers. Transparency builds trust, encouraging openness in AI process and decision-making while fostering accountability. Sustainability guarantees that AI innovations not only drive progress, but also aligned with ethical and environmental imperatives, ensuring a positive impact on the world we all share. These principles collectively form the bedrock of a responsible, forward-looking approach to AI development. And as I close, I should mention also the upcoming Paris AI Action Summit, scheduled for the 10th and 11th of February next year. And this summit will bring together global leaders to address the critical challenges and immense opportunities in AI, fostering international collaboration at the highest level. And we hope it will serve as a pivotal moment, shaping policies to ensure AI remains firmly rooted in ethical standards and aligned with societal needs, with the goal of delivering concrete outcomes. And so, coming from a conference labeled Road the Paris AI Action Summit, I'm confident that the discussions and insights that will take place during the next 2 days will significantly contribute to the success of the Paris Summit, which will mark, we hope, a defining moment for the future of AI. So before leaving the stage to Chairman Kitano, I would like to thank all those who made this new conference possible and wish all participants, speakers, and audience alike fruitful discussions and an interesting time during the 2 days of this conference. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I now finally ask our esteemed colleague, Dr. Hiroaki Kitano, the chairman of the Japan AI R&D Network, to come to the stage.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. Ambassador Sigmund, Ambassador Setton, and distinguished guest. I'm very happy to host you this German, France, Japan Trilateral Symposium on AI. And I would like to thank everyone involved in organizing this event possible, and particularly the German Center for Research and Innovation Tokyo, DWIH Tokyo, for their initiative to make this symposium possible. Well, previous version of this symposium took place in October 2022, and ChatGPT was released November 30, 2022. So when we had this symposium, the last time, we haven't seen a ChatGPT in the market. We know the technology is there. We know transformer. We know the fusion model. We know some of the big tech have the capability for the interactive, highly competent AI system, but it was not really on the exposed in the public as a service. So then things changed dramatically after the release of ChatGPT. And of course, like, big tech company all have this capability for large language model. And then we have like a Google release and Gemini and Anthropic, the Clade, and then, Meta released a Llama series of open model. And then, a lot of things happens. Like, over last 24 months, things have changed dramatically. We see the different world since the last time we gathered. Well, I think this is early in the game because it's only 2 years into the game. Well, actually, if you look at like a deep learning that was at 2012, like AlexNet demonstrated, highly competent image classifications. So we're probably like 10 years into the serious AI game, but like GenAI is only 2 years into the game. So this is really early in the game. What I would characterize is that we are facing the new industrial revolutions. And if you remember the industrial revolution that took in 2 stages, one is steam engine, and then internal combustion engine came. I think we are playing with the steam engine now. And my prediction is we're gonna see the internal combustion engine in 5 to 10 years from now. Or it could be the 2 years from now, or probably next month, we don't know yet. But I think it's really important to recognize that we are early in the game, and this is going to completely revolutionize the way we things and in the form of shape of our society and civilizations. GenAI will impact us in 3 areas. One is productivity. Second one is creativity. Third one will be the scientific discovery. I think that we are most excited by the productivity and partly in the creativity side at this moment. But we all recognize next big thing gonna be the scientific discovery. And I was in EU, DG Connect a couple of weeks ago, and then I understand that the EU is planning a large scale program for AI for scientific discovery. I think this is really the right move. At the same time, we all worry about the concentration of the power. Big tech companies, what we call the Magnificent Seven, is like a huge R&D spending, has the largest model available. And then I actually get the calculations. Mag 7 have like a 60% entire R&D of the NASDAQ listed company. And they have 1.5 times, like 150% bigger than entire R&D of Japan, private and public combined together, by only those 7 companies. Okay, let's face the reality. That's a reality we are facing. But at the same time, where the innovation, where the breakthrough comes, the fusion model created by the Munich University of Technology and the Runway, which is in New York City. Transformer is researched by the Google in the Silicon Valley. But like deep learning, we date back Toronto and the University of Montreal, and it's date back to the Mr. Fukushima's neocognitron, and then I think like we have like excited about the Nobel Prize in the physics for the Hopfield and then Hinton about like a spin glass model and a Boltzmann model, which is a physics-based approach for the artificial neural net, and then Amari-san actually had the more the information-oriented approach, which actually divide who get the Nobel Prize, by the way. But anyway, I think we had a lot of innovations all around the world, and we talk about Google, but like best team in the Google, which is a DeepMind, is located in the UK, London. So actually, a technology breakthrough is not concentrated in one place; it's distributed around the world. And even if you look at the where the actual discovery came, look at the people where they came from. Actually, distributes all around the world, actually. So I think it's really look at the reality that there is a concentrations at the same time, there's a distributed opportunity to creating a technical breakthrough and a new discovery. Now, something we have to look into in the future is the danger of the AI debate. AI is such a powerful tool and a new paradigm for the computing, and someone who has a powerful AI will have a significant advantage, not just for search engine or like a a chatbot or AI agent. Those are powerful enough, but at the same time that will impact the real world industries. So I think like it's really important how we actually get together to come up with a game plan, how we're going to mutually benefit and benefit all. And I think this is really critical. One of the things we need to talk about is the transparency and the bias in the data. So AI is based on the training on the large scale data. So if you are somewhere in the world which the information in the region is not represented in a data set, you don't get the performance. You don't get, like, even if you access large language model, you don't get the sufficient performance. You don't benefit. So access to the system doesn't mean that you get the same benefits. Like if you are in English-speaking countries, in the United States or Europe, you get the maximum benefit because the data set is abundant in that area. But if you are in probably somewhere in the Southeast Asia or Africa or Latin America, where the resource data is not well used for the training of the large language model, you get minimum benefit. Or even you are harmed by like a bias of data. So I think this is really the big topic today in the symposium, to have the transparency and unbiased data. Of course, bias cannot be eliminated entirely, and its definition is tricky, but still I think we have to have a coordinated effort. At the same time, like an end result of AI, I think we need to benefit like a real world industries. For example, like a service industry, restaurant and hotels, and manufacturing, material science, logistics, aviation, transportations. Those are the things which benefit. And I think that's very interesting. And this morning, I got the data for the Michelin Guide 2025. And we found out like Tokyo consistently has like a largest number of Michelin star restaurants. And then strikingly, we are in the Minato area, right? This is a small part of Tokyo. Has 69 Michelin star restaurants, where the New York has 68. Okay, so let's not worry about too much about this capital concentration on the big tech company. Of course, like we have to face it. We have to recognize there are big difference. But at the same time, we probably need to find a game to play, game plan that's going to the real world industry, which we have strengths, like manufacturing, gastronomy, and logistics, biomedical, healthcare, and that area, and try to come up with a longer game that we can take advantage in the longer term that benefit everyone in a society. And we're gonna have like an AI benefit everyone in a very sustainable way. I think it's really important. This is not a short game. This is a long game. We probably need to get together to come up with like a decent game plan, sustainable game plan, no one left behind. I think this hope like this symposium will contribute the global benefit for everyone, benefit from the AI technology. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kitano, and all three of you for setting the stage for our conference. We will now commence with our first session, Democratization of AI, where our esteemed speakers will explore how generative AI can be made more inclusive and accessible to society. May I request all the speakers and the chair come to the stage and have a seat, please? In the meantime, let me just briefly outline how we will proceed with this session and the ensuing sessions. We'll have 3 speeches of about 15 minutes each, followed by a, yes please. Followed by a 30-minute discussion led by Dr. Katagiri, the chair of the session, and finally we'll have about 15 minutes of question and answer time. Now you can see a QR code displayed on the screen, and it's also contained in the program flyer that you hopefully will have downloaded. You can scan it and you will be directed to Slido online platform where you can post your questions. You are also able to rank questions. You can give the thumb up. So if there's a question that you think is particularly valuable for everyone, please do give the thumb up. And we'll select questions actually for the Q&A session at the end. Let me introduce the speaker. Thank you very much for having a seat. The chair today is Dr. Yasuhiro Katagiri. He received his PhD in information engineering from the University of Tokyo in 1981. He worked at NTT Basic Research Labs and ATR Research Labs, was director of ATR Media Information Science Laboratories. He's currently the president at Future University Hakodate, and he's a fellow of the Japanese Society for Cognitive Science and the president of the Japanese Association for Sociolinguistic Sciences. Welcome. May I also welcome Professor Dr. Judith Simon. She's a full professor for ethics and information technologies at the University of Hamburg. She's interested in ethical, epistemological, and political questions arising in the context of digital technologies, and in particular in regards to big data and artificial intelligence. Judith Simon is a member of the German Ethics Council, where she was spokesperson for the report on the ethics of AI. She currently serves as on various committees of scientific policy advice and has been a member of the Data Ethics Commission of the German federal government between 2018 and 2019. She's also the editor of the Routledge book on trust in philosophy. Also, I'd like to welcome Professor Céline Hudelot, who's professor in computer sciences at Centrale Supélec. She heads the MICS Laboratory, Mathematics and IT for Complex Systems, and is interested in both data-driven and knowledge-driven artificial intelligence for the semantic interpretation of non-structured data, with a particular interest in explainable AI, or XAI, as I learned today. She also works on foundation models for the medical domains and on LLMs. And last but not least, may I also welcome Professor Arisa Emma, who is Associate Professor at the University of Tokyo and visiting researcher at the Deakin Center for Advanced Intelligence Projects. And I'm also grateful that she has been a frequent and outstanding contributor to many of our events in the past. She's a researcher in science and technology studies, and her primary interest is to investigate the benefits and risks of artificial intelligence. She's also a member of the Japanese government's AI Strategy Council, which was launched in May 2023. Internationally, she's an expert member of the Working Group on the Future of Work, GPIA, Global Partnership on AI, and she's an elected member of the United Nations Secretary General's Advisory Body on Artificial Intelligence. Thank you very much. Dr. Katagiri, may I give you the word?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, and I'd like to express gratitude for organizers of this conference to make a very wide topic and very big topic on generative AI. And particularly want to thank DWIH people to organize this particular gathering. And also thank you for the introduction. Today's morning's, this session's topic is democratization of generative AI, which is huge and wide-ranging. And as you see, and also from the interaction, you saw that we have three very distinguished speakers from 3 different countries and also 3 different backgrounds. So we would like to have different opinions, different perspectives. Different perspectives is one of the topic of this session, entire session. So we start with about 15 minutes talk from the presenters and move into a discussion session. I'm not sure it takes 30 minutes between them. If you are very interested, we'd be very eager to open the floor before that time. So can you ask you to start your presentation?
Over there?
Okay.
Yes, my slides are already here. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here. I'm very thankful for the invitation. I talked to the translators before because I have a tendency to speak very fast. So I'll try to be slower, but please bear with me if I'm going a bit too fast, or give me a sign if it's too fast. So when I submitted the abstract and the title, this was quite a while ago, I thought I want to focus on trustworthy generative AI. And as I'm partly a philosopher, we do a lot with words, so I wanted to talk about trust and trustworthiness, but then something different happened. We published a paper in which some of these challenges for what trustworthy generative AI would mean were spelled out, so I want to share some of these insights with you. And I want to actually, I was quite happy because I think I can pick up nicely from what Dr. Kitano said in the introduction. I'm teaching computer science to computer science students, and every January I'm teaching to the first grade students. And every year I'm asking them about AI, and usually the first semester students didn't know very much about AI. This was very different in January 2 years ago, because ChatGPT came to the market just 2 months before, but in January everybody had used it. So it was really a game changer also in terms of teaching. The second reason, also same as your conference, we finished a report by the German Ethics Council on the ethics of AI in November 2022. And we basically also missed the mark. And as somebody working in the field and also supervising a thesis on large language models, I was still flabbergasted by what happened. And I think part of the reason why we were so flabbergasted with what happened, also the people working in the field, is for two reasons. First of all, generative AI, there was an extremely fast update and uptake, and you saw disruptive effects in many domains for two reasons, I think. The first is it produced plausible text and images of increasingly high quality, but without reference to truth. But because language, pictures, images are so central to human communication, to evidence and emotion, it was so widely usable. And the second is there was a very simple interface. You could use it as simply as a search engine. You didn't need any prerequisites, neither technical nor in terms of competence, so everybody could use it without any learning curve. And I think these two factors were very crucial for the speed we saw by which this technology has been taken up. So we just published 2 weeks ago a new paper, and that's why I thought I should use the occasion for the German Academy of Sciences Leopoldina on generative AI. It's called Beyond Euphoria and Simple Solutions, New Challenges of Generative AI. The reason the new is in brackets is because, of course, generative AI is a type of AI, and it shares many of the concerns we have raised towards AI in general. But there are a few particular ones that are either nuanced a bit more differently or become stronger in the context of generative AI. And these are the following 7 we identified. Clearly, they are not the only ones, and I'm not going to talk about all of them in the next 15 minutes, so I just picked 4 of them. The paper is in the process of being translated. It's currently only in German, but it should be out in English also in about a few weeks. So let me start with the first one, also one already raised by Dr. Kitano, both the necessity but also the limitations of debiasing. What we have learned about AI in general, that it is very often replicating the status quo and cementing it into the future by embedding it into seemingly neutral systems. What I mean by that is AI in principle, database systems learn patterns from past data. And if you use this to make predictions and inferences into the future, you're basically inscribing the past into the future. This is what I often call the inherent conservatism of AI. It's not about left and right, it's just about replicating the status quo. So of course, all the injustices, inequalities, but also stereotypes which we can find in society or in the data will also be replicated in these models. So where you can see this, on the one hand, you see this in AI in general, but also in generative AI. So there have been a number of publications, both in Science, but also from the UNESCO, that generative AI reveals alarming evidence of regressive gender stereotypes, and it's of course not only about gender, but also about other types of stereotypes. So what you can do, of course, there's not a necessity to stick to just inscribing the past. You can make a number of bias mitigation strategies in order to prevent this. So what happened, and I just use this as a case to illustrate a more general point, is there were some discussions in Germany, probably also elsewhere, around Gemini, when it introduced some, like say, diversity-aware mitigation strategies to counter biases. The background being that a number of pictures that were generated were very often white and very Western, so they tried to mitigate these biases by diversifying the output of their image generators, okay? Of course, this led to problems when you, on the one hand, tried to illustrate Germans from the Nazi period, but also the founding fathers of the US, because in both cases, these people happened to be white and Western and German, and of course it is misleading to have pictures then depicting more Asian or other cultures in these pictures. So there was a huge outcry as a result of these pictures, and people basically said, well, this is now going too far. Right? All of a sudden, you're trying to decide how should people be depicted. But I think the whole debate missed a more generic point. The more generic point is that, of course, how to mitigate bias is very context sensitive. And if you want to illustrate historical facts, it's, of course, something different than if you want to produce pictures to illustrate advertisement. And I think this is something important to learn about generative AI and AI in general, that mitigating bias is very important, but it's far from trivial. And you can't do it generically, but you must do it individually, case by case, and depending on the context. And this is technically hard, but also politically and ethically challenging. Let me turn to the next challenge, which is just as complex as the previous one. And I'm pretty sure that Professor Hudelot will say more about this in a minute. Something else we discussed is there is a lot of debate about explainability in AI, and there's actually a legal right to explanation in the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe. But what does it mean to get an explanation of an AI system? So just to illustrate this, if you want to explain how an image recognition software is detecting what is a dog or what is a cat, you can, of course, visualize in certain ways or try to highlight what are the characteristics that make the system decide that something is cat-like or dog-like. For instance, you can have heat maps or something similar. Okay? The problem, of course, is this is only an approximation of how the system actually works. And if you're not designing systems to be explainable ex ante, it's very hard to do this afterwards. And for some systems, maybe also not possible. Moreover, what we tried to summarize this in a joint paper is explanation is really difficult because the question we need to ask is who actually needs to understand what in a given scenario, what can be explained about a system in use, what should explanations look like in order to be meaningful to the affected users. To give you an example, not from the generic AI, generative AI, but from a more other AI context. If you are applying for a loan, right, and you are denied a loan, and you want to get an explanation why you were denied a loan, what you actually want is a counterfactual explanation. You want to know what should have been different so that I would have gotten credit. This is something, an individual explanation that is affecting the consumer. If you want to check that a bank is not discriminating men or women in giving credits, you need a very different type of explanation, namely a global one. So depending on the type of explanation you want, you need different systems to be built and different explanations to be embedded. So what I'm trying to say, and what we've been trying to argue in this paper, which was joint work with a lawyer and a computer scientist and me, is to say, what you mean by wanting an explanation, you need to spell it out, and certain types of explanations can't be given with certain systems. Let me turn to the third example, the risks of quadruple deception. What do I mean by that? I think many of the computer scientists in the room will recognize ELIZA, which has been a very simple chatbot developed, we would call it chatbot now, of course, developed by Joseph Weizenbaum long ago. And Joseph Weizenbaum turned into one of the most fervent critics of computer science for a reason, because he basically observed that people attributed characteristics to ELIZA that the software didn't have. It basically was a very simple software which answered questions. It was based on Richard Rogers' psychotherapy. It responded to requests by users, but nonetheless, the users started to attribute empathy and intelligence to the software systems, even if they knew it was just simple software. And I think we just observed the same tendency in the context of ChatGPT when it came to the market. So first of all, the first deception that we can see in relation to generative AI is a deception in regards to whether I'm interacting with a human or with a machine. Okay, is the person I'm interacting with a human, a customer sales agent, or is it a machine? But this is only the most straightforward type of deception. The second one is deception about the capabilities of AI. From the onset of generative AI, there have been debates about the supposed capabilities of these systems, that they are intelligent, that they are smart, that they may even be conscious. I think this is all exaggerated, and I'm trying to explain over and over again that this is statistics, and what the systems are doing is statistics, and that's pretty much about it. It is very interesting. Many things can happen, but I think we need to be very alert to these hype about supposed characteristics, capabilities of these systems. The third one, and this is of course a more funny example of the Pope in this is a deep fake, but of course we've seen elections, we've seen the use of other types of fakes, so this is another type of deception occurring through generative AI that is raising serious problems for our democracy, as has been mentioned also by the two ambassadors. The last form of deception that I want to mention is one that has, I think, been discussed less in the years to come, and this has to do with the fact that very often generative AI is not used as a standalone system, but increasingly gets embedded into other types of services and products. I don't know whether it's the same for you, but in many of the systems I have been using for years, AI buttons emerged in the last month. So this be in email programs, in PDF readers, in Microsoft. So I'm just using this as an example. The point I'm trying to get at is that there seems to be emerging of two very distinct types of software systems. One is about information creation and the other is about retrieval. Just to make this a bit more blunt, if I'm looking and searching for an email in my inbox, I want to make sure that it existed before and it is not created the moment I hit a button. Okay? And I think this is very important to see this distinction and to make sure that people don't get confused about what is created by pressing certain buttons and what is retrieved and being found before. And I think this is a problem we're seeing a lot right now, that there is a fusion of these different systems. And actually ChatGPT has been marketed in the beginning as the future of search. And I think it's very important to keep in mind that search and generative AI is something very different. So the last point that I want to mention is AI as a critical infrastructure, and that is related to the previous point. I think what we've seen is that AI is being embedded into more and more systems, and it's becoming critical in numerous senses. On the one hand, we're relying on it very strongly in many domains, and it's very critical that we're relying on proprietary systems that we don't understand and can't control. So this is security relevant, it's also relevant for reliability, and I think it is something really to keep in mind how we are dealing with this critical infrastructure. So with these four insights, let me come to my conclusions. So can we have trustworthy generative AI, and what would it entail? I think what we need to learn is, on the one hand, we have very specific challenges of generative AI, but also the generic ethical challenges of AI remain. What I think is very important, and it has also been mentioned before, is that the effects of AI and generative AI in particular are not the same for everyone. Those who are already marginalized or vulnerable are also the ones going to suffer probably more and have from these systems, and have more difficulties in coming up with the benefits of these systems. I think it is essential both to understand the needs for some of these technologies which I described, both for debiasing and XAI, but also to understand the limitations that come with this, both the technical limitations and the political dimension. What I'm always saying to my computer science students is that ethics is nothing that comes when you develop your software, but you need to think about it every minute when you're designing the software. The type of data you're using, the types of methods you're choosing, all of these are ethical decisions because they have ethical implications. But it also goes beyond the method and the technology because it asks broader questions. And the last point, the devil, as always, is in the details. So we need to look both into the technologies, into the data and the algorithms, but also in the institutional and organizational frameworks in which these technologies are being deployed. And with this, I'd like to end and thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Judith. You raised a lot of very important questions from bias and then deception and critical infrastructure and explainability. And I think Céline will talk about explainability of AI technologies, within AI technologies.
It works? Okay. So good morning. So first I want to thank the organization team for the invitations. And in my talk, I will not speak about explainability. It's one of my topic of research, but I will try to explain you from a technical point of view why generative and general purpose AI brings some strengths and weakness for the democratization of AI. So, you know that now AI is everywhere, in our daily life, in the health domain, in Warframe, and a lot of domains are concerned by AI. And it's the reason why we now can speak about the democratization of AI. Okay. Okay, but what means the democratization of AI? In fact, there is a lot of way to use this notion, a lot of aspect of democratization according to the actors that speak about democratization. So for my presentation, I use a definition given by a recent paper of Seger that use, in fact, 4 notions to define democratization of AI. These notions are the democratization of AI use, so the ability to make it easier for a wide range of people to access and use the technology without coding experiences. The democratization of AI development in order to help a wider range of people to contribute to the field. The democratization of AI profit to facilitate the broad and equitable distribution of value accrued to organizations that build and control AI capabilities. And the democratization of AI governance to ensure that decisions around the question of usage, of development and of profit will reflect the will and the preference of the society. Okay, in my talk, I will only tackle the aspect of democratization of AI use and AI development. And in the first part of the talk, I will try to explain you why generative AI can be considered as pathway to the democratization of AI use and AI development. Okay, but before, maybe it's good to try to define generative AI. So, as you know, artificial intelligence is not a new field. Its birth coincides with the birth of computer science, and the field known a lot of period and approach. We have symbolic AI, so the expert system AI approach with the explicit representation of knowledge and reasoning. We also have machine learning approach in which we give the ability to computer to learn from experiences, in particular data, tasks for which they are not programmed. And in the machine learning era, we have deep learning, in which the models are deep neural networks. So neural network in terms of deep architecture. And in this deep learning era, we have generative AI, which are just deep learning networks, so deep networks, sorry, that are able to generate text, images, and a lot of data. Okay, so I will skip this slide because Professor Kitano highlighted this aspect in his introduction. But maybe... Oh. Okay, but I will try to give you some ingredients important in generative AI for making it a pathway to the democratization. So when we speak about generative AI, we have to, we talk about large language machine models. Large language models are just neural networks which is designed to process and generate human text. This neural networks is trained at large scale, primarily through a task which is a mask language modeling task. So it is a task that requires the model to predict mask token in their input. And with this task, we can train the model at large scale. It is this task that is enabled to train the model at large scale. And by doing that, we enable the model to acquire extensive knowledge and capabilities. And at inference, given the input, the model just outputs a probability distribution, which is just illustrated here, over a vocabulary of possible next words. Okay? And currently, large language model follows a step-by-step approach to generate the text, where you start with a prefix, and we generate the text word by word. So it's a very powerful framework, and now the questions become how to leverage this to perform multiple tasks. And in fact, we can leverage a large language model to perform many tasks by relying on what is named their in-context learning ability. So their ability to learn tasks, given only few examples in this form, in fact, in the form of demonstration without web updating or retraining the model by fine-tuning. So the main principle, in fact, is to design prompt in order to guide the model to have the wanted output. And as a consequence, by efficiently prompting, which is named prompt engineering, we can solve many tasks with very good performances. It's really a revolution, in fact. It's really the revolution of generative AI. And we can do that for many tasks. We can design prompt for summarization, for sentimental analysis, question answering, and so on. So, for me, the prompting and the in-context learning ability of large language models are really one of the technical aspects that make them a pathway to the democratization of AI use and development. Okay. In fact, generative AI also contains what is named foundation models. In fact, LLM are a specific kind of models named foundation model, not restricted to text, but that can be also tackle other modalities and that can be multimodals. So a foundation model is just a large-scale model trained with various strategies on various large-scale data, and that can be adapted either by fine-tuning or by prompting on a variety of tasks. So it thus opens the way for generative purpose AI models. So instead of a set of narrow models, AI models, we have one big model that can be adapted to a variety of tasks. Okay, so just some example of well-known foundation model. So in the vision area, so the semantic model from Meta, in the robotic domain, the RT2 models, and also in chemical, the mole-formal foundation models. Okay. Another aspect of generative AI, which is really a big part of the democratization, is the notion of AI agents. So agent-based AI needs to generate dynamic behaviors that are grounding in their understanding, in an understanding, of their environment. So it's a kind of, instead of traditional model that simply respond to prompt or that execute some predefined task, an agent can take decision, plan actions, and even learn from its experiences. So it really opens a way to what is named artificial general intelligence, and it's really something which is highly discussed now in the field, this ability to design agents that are able to orchestrate a lot of tasks in a lot of different environments. Okay, so maybe to give you an example on what we can do with foundation models, I will take the example of the Redino foundation model, which is a model we built in my team with a PhD student in collaboration with a big tech, so with Meta and some hospitals. So we built Redino, which is a foundation model for holistic and fairer analysis of chest X-ray images, and this foundation model is not a LLM, it is a vision transformer model. And we train this model just using the well-known DINOV2 self-supervised objective, so masking, cropping, and so on. And we train it on a set of open data, open medical data, coming from 2 countries and coming from 4 data sets. And we decide to train this model only on patient-centric data, so just using imaging data and not annotation data, because annotation follow country-specific guidelines. So we want to not use this country-specific guideline. We apply it after, as it, to all downstream tasks, 9 downstream tasks, without any modifications or specialization of its parameter. Okay. We test it on 11 datasets coming from 7 countries across 4 continents, in both internal and external settings. Okay. And we evaluated on different tasks, 3 different kind of tasks. In order to evaluate its ability to tackle a set of tasks, so whole image analysis, dance prediction, and report generations, its ability to generalize to rare or unseen disease or unseen exam, and also we evaluate its fairness ability in terms of explainability, robustness across population, and sex and age bias analysis. And as you see, it's a red Dino, the Redino model is the green performance. We outperform a lot of existing models. So, as a consequences, we can say that Redino is a good example of democratization of what generative AI can do for AI democratizations. We make easier AI use and development because we provide a uniform approach for a set of tasks in the health domain. with this foundation model, we are able to deal with rare health conditions that cannot be annotated on thousands of images. So it's a crucial assessment for the practical utility in routine clinical practice. It also opens the potential for a large-scale deployment. We are able to tackle out-of-domain task performance. So it gives us the potential to explore new disease and exam. It's robust to patient demographic, so it's really AI for all. And we also, so our model is biased, but we also perform gender bias analysis to ensure the fairness and the reliability across diverse applications and populations. And it's something that can be done for all the method all the model we develop. Okay, so generative AI and general purpose AI can be considered as a pathway to the democratization of AI, use and development, but accessibility and use do not mean adoptions. And in particular, we have to tackle a lot of issues mentioned in the previous presentations. The fact that they hallucinate, so they are not robust to hallucinations. They have a lot of bias, and we have to tackle this bias. And the last aspect is the fact that they are really complex black box models, and we need to develop some explainability and transparency aspect. Okay, so it's finished. So just to open on the next session, transparency and explainability. I have a lot of slides to present you. Just some aspects also, which are also issues for the democratization of AI development. The fact that we are now in a big tech monopoly era, and huge models have several downsides, such as the cost of their computational efficiency, their cost, their customizations. And another aspect, which is really important for my point of view, is the fact that AI is not developed by a lot of persons, and we have a lot of gender bias and demographic, only narrow demographic actors are developing AI model, and it's something that have to be discussed from my point of view. So I will stop here. I have another slide on one model we built for the French language, but it will be for the discussion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Céline raised an interesting dimension for thinking about AI democratization, use, development, and profit and governance. And I realize you mostly concentrate on use and development, and I think Emma-san will talk about particularly governance for AI. So.
Thank you for your introduction, and I'm very honored to stand up here. As the chair mentioned, I have been involved in this Trilateral symposium since the first one, and I am really happy that this is kind of continuing. Our German, French, and Japanese network is still continuing, and we will be having the discussion, especially about this ChatGPT or the generative AI issue today. So first of all, I kind of titled this was like a harnessing generative AI, but harnessing, I don't think I don't know whether this is the good wording to deal with the AI issue. But here I wanted to question who and how harness or to cope with the generative AI issue. And my background is a social scientist, and I would like to kind of show some of the example or the kind of the case studies experiment or of how I organized a multi-stakeholder discussion to discuss to make to contribute to the democratization of this AI and the society issue. Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about some of the discussion points regarding this generative AI, or more broadly about the AI itself. So when we talk about the risks of AI, I think we need to distinguish roughly about like the risk posed by AI and also as the obstacles to the AI promotion. So this is kind of like, you know, the how to promote the AI in a adequate way, and also how to prevent or to mitigate the risk that actually AI generate or make. So one, for the first part, the risk posed by AI also can be divided into roughly into two. So I think the previous presenter nicely demonstrated that there would be the AI, the risk that actually posed by AI in general, and also the risk kind of posed by the generative AI. But also, I would like to broaden more. So there would be a risk that actually generated by like the ICT itself. Like we actually experience a lot of risks since like the internet era. So there still kind of exists like the privacy, security, or the copyright or the portrait right, or all those things that was actually kind of continuously we actually see from the information technology risk, but also we also see some of the specific risks that actually are more kind of deepened, or maybe made it much more seriously created by the AI or the deep learning or the generative AI. And the other point, the obstacles to the AI promotion, is the other risk, because sometimes here, especially here in Japan, there's lots of kind of the legal framework or like the institutional framework that is actually unclear how it actually adapts to the existing AI technology and also the legal framework. So there's a huge debate about like whether we need another legal framework that Europe actually created this AI Act. And on the other hand, the Japanese government are actually discussing whether we need some kind of legal framework or the new regulatory frameworks, especially for the artificial intelligence itself, or we can still kind of manage with the existing legal framework. So that is one of the topic. However, still we need to kind of make some kind of interpretation of the existing legal framework and also how we can adapt it to the artificial intelligence. Otherwise, it actually prevents the benefits of the artificial itself. So without that kind of issue, so the AI has been used in various domains like a medicine or the transportation or like the market. So with that kind of the good interpretations or the organization of the artificial intelligence and the legal frameworks or the customs that we actually faces right now in the each country's or each domain's context is actually required, and that will actually reduces the risk that all the people actually faces or actually develops or uses the artificial intelligence. And another discussion point I would like to raise is the term interoperability. So actually, this is the kind of the magic or like the term actually came up kind of created or maybe highlighted after like the G7 Hiroshima summit. So before that, I think there was a term like the incompatibility or the inconsistency or some kind of that kind of wording. But the interoperability among frameworks is somehow one of the keywords that was actually using like the OECD or the Global Partnership on AI and all those multi-stakeholder global networks. So what does the interoperability mean? Traditionally, that is kind of used in the tech world. For example, like the standardization of the ISO, the IEEE. So it's kind of like, you know, we all use the Wi-Fi, and we can use it here in Japan or in the German or in the French because there's kind of this kind of standard. However, when we talk about the interoperability between frameworks, it is more so kind of talking about the transparency of each of the guidelines or the regulatory frameworks that we all use. So currently, Japan also created the business guidelines by the Cabinet Office, and there's the EU Act in Europe, and the United States, the NIST also created this AI governance framework. So and the OECD also has their own kind of the governance frameworks. Singapore also created this governance framework. So every region actually created this kind of governance framework. It's kind of like, it doesn't matter whether it is a hard law or the soft law, but we need to have some kind of, interoperable, or the more to say, the transparency about each of the frameworks. Otherwise, it kind of makes confusion. So where I am in Japan, do I have to whether I should only look into the Japanese frameworks, or if I am also, interested in the market of the Europe, then I also need the EAR Act. But whether there's a difference between the frameworks, there will be, the very confusion about that. So, so this interoperability or the transparency is really important to consider the promotion of artificial intelligence, and also to mitigate the risks. And also, we also need to think about who is actually involved in this, the long supply chain of the AI development and also to the AI usage. So this is actually our working group that's actually done in the University of Tokyo, and we actually talked with the Japanese government as well. But there's a lot of actors who are actually involved in this responsible AI use and the development. So, however, I think it is very important to somehow distinguish the areas of the responsibility, and how the people's how to ensure how to kind of prevent the risk towards the end users, and also to consider about within the business field. So I think within like the blue area, where like the AI developers or the AI trained, so we need to think about it's more like a B2B issue. So there we need some kind of very clear contract guidelines, or maybe they need some kind of negotiations among there, and we talk about the risks that actually each business side have. But when it comes to like the B2C, there actually exists the power balance. So, and also the information, there would be the deficit between like the information that the actual users have, and also the developer has. So we need to have some kind of safeguards, or maybe the insurance system, or like the government kind of remedy kind of the frameworks, so that the public are kind of be assured to use the AI and be kind of protected, even though there would be the risk. And there's when we're talking about the AI, we cannot say there is a zero risk. There certainly exists some kind of risk. And however, we also wanted to take the benefits. So it's kind of like a balance. So I think it's kind of important to divide the business-to-business risk and the business-to-consumer risk, and that is very important. And I'm saying this because the industry structure is slightly different with like so-called like the US or the big tech models. And for example, here in Japan, or maybe the German and the French also may have like the bottom kind of structure. This is very abstract structure. But for example, like the Google, Amazon, Facebook, the GAFA, they actually are the AI developer, but also they are the provider or the deployer of the AI system. So when the users actually see some kind of fraud, or maybe they actually encounter some kind of harm, they can actually know who they can claim those things. However, like here in Japan, the previous speaker actually mentions that the AI is kind of embedded into the system or the existing frameworks or the mail. So we actually don't see who. There's a long supply chain, and we need to think about where we should to think about the responsible way. So here, I would like to say that there's the simultaneous the AI creates the risk, but also it also solves the social problem. So here, as a social scientist, what I do for my activity is to involve as many stakeholders as possible and to promote the dialogue. So last August, my German colleagues actually kind of started this kind of initiative called the Global AI Dialogue. So what they actually presented is to use the same frameworks about discussing about the risk. So kind of identify the risks and benefits, and to kind of see who's the stakeholders, and do the backcasting. So that kind of framework. And then they actually contacted me to do some kind of the global dialogue. And so I was kind of preparing the movie, but anyway, well, it's not working. So maybe if you're interested, just go for this link. But they actually conducted the same framework in Nigeria, and also we did our thing in Japan, and they are actually thinking about doing. They actually done it in India, and also at the Mexico, and also like Canada and US or some. So it is very important to have the public view, because when we talk about the multi-stakeholder, it actually, we used to talk about the government, industry, academia, or the NPOs, but the main users, so when we talk about the democratization, we actually need the user's opinion, and we need to hear about what they think. So here, I think it is really important to have this kind of dialogue, not just informing the public what is the risk, what is the benefit, but also get their perspectives to think about what would be their expectations, and how we can collaborate, or how we can discuss about the AI. And also, as the last point, actually, this is the event we did yesterday. And here, I also would like to raise some of the kind of the bias issue or the stereotype issue that was actually kind of be considered in very contextual, or maybe the country-wise way. So I am lacking my time, so I will just be in brief. But like Kitano-san previously mentioned, so we need to think about the diversity of the context, and also how the bias is actually made. And even though right now all those LLMs are doing a pretty good way in preventing the biases. However, when I was talking with the lawyers, or the person who actually works on this, the human rights, when it's come to like the Japanese specific stereotype or the social vulnerable or the social groups biases, and when it comes to the details, it actually can have some kind of mistakes or the misunderstanding of it. So we need to look precisely about and to do some kind of red teaming. This is also a very a very vague way. It's not only like using it's kind of using the security way, but we can use the red teaming in the social science way. So to consider what is the specific biases or stereotypes in Japanese in unique way, and also we can do this in the German, French, and also like the Southeast Asian and every other country. And the point is that there's no only one value, or the one right way to consider about the stereotypes, but like the previous presenters also says that we need to look into the context, the domains, or the details to think about it. So this is my end of the slide. So the one thing I really like it is that the calling-less dilemma I would like to show is that it is said that it is difficult to predict the impact of the technology before it is used. However, it's become very difficult when the technology is widespread. But actually, we are facing this kind of, the ChatGPT spreading day by day. So it might be said that we are kind of living in the experimental society. So in that way, we can actually kind of harness or to kind of see what is actually going on in the tech side, and we can talk with, we can, interact with the multi-stakeholder discussion and to consider how we can democratize the generative AI and also make it the society more transparent and trustworthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We heard from quite different background and quite different perspectives. Judith talk from a philosopher's point of view, and Céline mostly talk about AI developers or a technology point of view, and Arisa talked about somehow governance and connecting technology with societies. I would like to start by asking each of you, just reconfirm what you are thinking the current situation in terms of and democracy. Since we are very divergent background, we have a very divergent background, and also country background is also cultural background is somehow different. I would be interested to hear from you both positive aspect and negative aspect. What you think are the most significant positive aspect or negative aspect of current situation, if you think about generative AI technology and society, democracy?
It's a very difficult question to begin the debate. So maybe one of the aspects of generative AI that is in favor of democratization in use, in development, profit, and so on, is its performance, I think, because we have really high-performing models, and as I have shown with the Redino Foundation models, we can improve not only performance on different tasks, but also the fairness aspect, the generalization aspect on rare disease, and so on. So it's something which brings a lot of opportunities. One thing which is really, for me, among the weakness is the fact that now the models are mainly built by a very small set of actors, the high-performing models. And it's really questionable. It's questionable because even if these companies provide some open sources models, they hide a lot of things. The data used for training the models are not provided as open source data, so we have not this data. And they also hide some aspect of their training strategy, so it makes them difficult to use for deployment in particular in critical areas. So maybe these two aspects for so performing models, but not transparent model. So it's really questionable.
Okay, so from the perspective of the academic researcher, actually looking into the AI governance and the public perception or the public awareness about the artificial intelligence. The positive or the good points I can raise is that people are very active and very involved in this discussion. So my background is STS, Social Society and the Science and Technology Studies, and my colleagues are actually working, for example, like the nanotechnology or the climate change or the nuclear energy and or the space or the biotechnology and the various different fields. However, when I am talking with the other colleagues working on the different domains, I kind of see even like the little like the elementary school to a child to like the elderly, they all talk about the artificial intelligence, and everyone is somehow everyone can talk about the benefits or the risk of the expectations and all those things. So I think when we consider about the democratization of the artificial the technology itself, it is really positive aspect that everyone can say something about this technology and everyone can be involved in this discussion. So that is the good point. But and also, I am working on this kind of interdisciplinary, discussion. So it is really easier for me to kind of reach out to, for example, like the psychology people, the history people who are actually working on like the human rights people, or from the information or the medicine and the transportation. So this is AI is actually kind of becoming like infrastructure, and everyone can be involved in this discussion. So this is really a very very, very surprising thing and very great thing to conduct this interdisciplinary, or the transdisciplinary kind of work or the debate or the discussion about both in academic and also in the governance way. However, maybe the negative thing related to this aspect is that it's somehow very, the people's expectations and the people's kind of discussion is too diverse, and somehow it's really interesting for me, but it's somehow very difficult to to see. So actually, even though I am trying to kind of mitigate the gap, but they're actually they sometimes become the discussion of the values, and actually it's more kind of deepens the social divide, and so with what they actually considers about the expectations, the risks of artificial intelligence. So that is how to kind of make the place to discuss in more effective way is. Well, this is a challenge for me, and also I wouldn't say this is a negative. Negative can be a chance to make it more better society. Yeah.
I think I can just follow up on what Professor Ema said. I think the one positive aspect, which is also has a negative component, is the attention that is currently on AI. And this is why I was using the example that 2 years ago it was really a game changer. And as somebody who has been working on the ethics and epistemology of digital technologies for by now 20 years, it's very surprising. It used to be very much a niche subject where just very few philosophers were interested in. We always were the same bunch of people. You would meet them at the same conference, and now AI ethics is so huge. So this is, on the one hand, something good, I think, because people focus also both on the potential but also on the harms that are possible with AI. And this is, I think, good because previously AI in different, not generative AI, was already used in a lot of high-stake contexts such as social welfare, criminal justice, in many domains, and it was under the radar of many people what is happening there and what the problems are. So I think this is a good thing. On the other hand, I also see a bit of a danger in this highlighted attention right now, because it seems AI is everything and it's unavoidable and you can't really do anything about it and it's just flowing and technologies. And I find this problematic. On the one hand, I think there's a strategic debate on attributing agency to AI, in particular by some of the developers and some of the companies, because it's also a way of deflecting their own responsibility by saying, well, AI is doing this and that. It's not. Right? It's people making choices, it's people deploying technologies, and I think this is a danger, the way we are discussing about AI. Plus, I think we have a number of other challenges, some of which you mentioned, like climate change, rising populism in many countries, and I'm a bit afraid that we should tackle those, and of course they may be related, and there are relations between these topics, but even as somebody making my money and my interest on focusing on AI, I think we should also not overrate some of these debates to forget other topics.
Thank you very much. Since you talked about dangers, I'm kind of interested in, when you talk about danger or risk, there's a risk of AI system itself, danger of AI system itself, like biases, but also, as you talked about, fake pictures, and also functional creep or something like that. Just over-anthropomorphize the systems because of this capability. So this technology side and the human side, there are two kind of different aspects when you talk about AI risks, particularly in generative AI risks. And I would be interested to hear about your take on that. On three of you. Just.
No, you can begin. So the question is related to the human taking into account human in the perspective of building AI. Is that true?
When you think about AI technology, technology itself has danger, its own dangers, and also shortcomings. But the deception side is mostly because of the wrong use of AI technology, not the AI technology itself. So how to cope with those different two aspects?
So still a difficult question. Maybe I can. So there is clearly a gap between what we do in research and in industry and real use case, in fact, of AI. If I take, for instance, the case of explainability, we develop a lot of explainability approach. A lot. And in fact, if we look at this approach in terms of their use for end user in order to understand how the decision is taken by the model, we are misaligned with human. So we have really to design approach that are more aligned with the human needs and the society need for human. So in a machine learning era, the way to do that is to develop new protocol, new metrics, and in particular metrics that take into account the real use of the model in terms of, for instance, in the health domain, we now have some methods in order to really assess and to evaluate the approach, the model we develop in terms of their clinical use. And it involves a lot of things we do not tackle when we evaluate our model in academics, in fact. So we have to open our world to real use of AI system, I think, for this aspect. Maybe you can complete.
can I just add one thing? So you actually mentioned about like the tech side and the society side, but I would like to say that the AI is just a tool. So it's more like the how people uses or how or the company governs the AI. So that's the point. So it's not like, for now AI don't stand alone, so that doesn't actually start to think or start to do something, but it depends on like who actually uses and how to use it. So I think we should not anthropomorphize the AI itself. I don't like to way of to considering that way, but well, that's my opinion. So it's the users and also how the company or the developers kind of creates the design you mentioned, the governance design, and that way I think we can kind of control or or at least consider about how to mitigate the maluse or the misuse of the artificial intelligence. So I don't want to see there's the technology itself has the bad aspect, or I also don't want to say the technology is the neutral.
So maybe just to follow up, what I usually try to say is when we talk about the ethics of information technology, but also the ethics of AI, I use it to distinguish three pillars, right? It's on the one hand, the ethics of the designer and developer, the other is the ethics of the user, and the third is the ethics of the artifact itself. And of course, the three of them are related, clearly, right? But the point is basically, if you think about the ethics of the designer or the developer or the computer scientist, it's similar to in the medical field where you have a certain professional ethics, how to behave, how to ensure the systems are good enough, both in a technical and a scientific, but also maybe in a moral sense, what are the purposes? And then, of course, the users can use technology for various purposes. They can use it for cheating, they can use it for good. So there are ethical questions arising, not in the way they are designed, but how you're deploying them. And the third then is, to what extent can you assess the technology? What you just said, it's not neutral in itself, but it's also embodying certain values, certain norms, and they can be positive or negative. You can either, let's say, ensure privacy through your technology design decisions, or you can show transparency, or you can do the opposite. And I think this is important to see there are different points where you can try to achieve good design and good technologies, but also the opposite, and distinguishing them, but also their relatedness, I think may be helpful to tackle these problems.
Thank you very much. I think we need to open the floor and take questions from the audience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katagiri, for being such a diligent timekeeper. We have quite a few interesting questions. I summarize a little bit, I think, so that we can fit more, and maybe also like to ask the speakers to keep your answers short so that we can fit ideally lots of these interesting questions. The first couple of questions that sort of take democratization to the national level is the question, as Germany, France, Japan, if I may say so, maybe the second league of national players, how can we develop major AI companies comparative to the top 7 companies in the United States, for example? And related to that, are there particular areas that would lend themselves to for these 3 countries to focus on, to become competitive or to be competitive? It's not directed to anybody in particular.
So it's not my domain very much to talk about the competitiveness, but I can think of something. So, and it's following up to what the ambassador of France also said about Mistral. So in France, we have Mistral. In Germany, we have Aleph Alpha. We have other companies. And I think some of the strategy, and this may be controversial what I'm saying, some of the national strategies have been to push their own systems, which are also proprietary. I don't think this is the best strategy, but that's just talking as a non-economist, right? Because I think maybe an alternative way would be to push open source models such as Bloom, and to have, just to give an example, to have systems in which all the companies are building multi-language, multi-purpose models where then other companies can settle up on a second layer. I'm not sure the smartest move is to develop these smarter local, national proprietary systems. I think this has been a strategy, but I'm not sure it will be successful because the other players are so big. So I'm wondering to what extent actually there shouldn't be more investment in a joint, let's say, multi-language, large language models in Europe so that we have other type of services building on top of that. Again, take it with a grain of salt because I'm neither an economist, but that is just an observation that I found the strategy seemed to be more going towards these more proprietary systems.
I agree with the fact that another scheme can be to develop other kind of models and smaller models, but dedicated to specific languages, to specific application, to specific, and in this case it's possible. I think that there is a lot of case you develop in Japan, you develop your own model. In France, we also develop with a very small team of actors a French language model that integrate French cultures. French cultural culture, sorry. So it's possible to do things even if we are not a big company. And maybe we are more competitive on this aspect than on the aspect of building very huge model. So we have Mistral, but we have other kind of activities also in France. The question is, and in fact, it's interesting to develop this model for different issues that are societal issues, the sovereignty issues, which is an important issue, in particular for critical and high-stake system, but also sustainability issues, because when we develop smaller models that can be run on a smart device, and a lot of actors can use and rebuild on them. So it's also something that have to be discussed and think. I think not the only vision is not developing huge models that can solve every task for all the context and so on.
Kind of similar to what the previous discussion is. So one thing I am not also in the field of this area, but from my observation, what I can say is that, for example, one of the researchers at the RIKEN AIP Center is actually working on like how we can build the LLM with the small data set. So it's not like, right now we are actually competing about like getting the usual, the enormous data, and so that they can make the AI more the work and well. But like in the Kitano-san's discussion, he also mentioned about the Professor Amari. So Japan used to very good at modeling or the concept to consider about the concept of what the intelligent machine would be, and so in that sense, I think we can go to like what would be the good modeling of thinking about the intelligence or more like a scientific discussion, and maybe in that way we can go for a slightly different way, or what the previous deep learning the big, we need the large data, and also they need the general purpose of AI. So it might take a little bit of time, but I think the diversity of the model would be the very important. So in that sense, we can develop different models of current, like the 7 big tech companies are actually creating, and also that kind of diverse. So the ChatGPT only just is like a 3 years. So we cannot say that the totally different models comes in like in 5 years or 6 years. So we can still seek of the new possibility of creating the different models in a way.
Thank you very much. And another question that has attracted a lot of attention is I rephrase a little bit, how should policymakers strike the balance between encouraging innovation in AI and adding regulation, necessary regulation?
I think the policymakers are currently interested in, already very interested in this, AI innovation and the regulatory framework. And yeah, here in Japan, I would say that I am in the committee member of the AI strategy, the cabinet office, actually discussing about the AI strategy, and there we all talk about how to promote the innovation and also to think about the regulatory frameworks. So that discussion goes both way, and looking into the Europe or the United States, there's all kind of discussing about the governance. And I talked about the interoperability issue. So, it can't say that Japan only goes to the innovation, but the AI system or the AI services is already global. So we all need to think about how to govern or how to regulate the artificial intelligence to kind of when we think about the global market. So I think it's difficult, but at least I can see they are seeking the right balance of this innovation and the governance of the regulatory frameworks.
Additional comments on that topic?
No, so maybe to complete, so in Europe we have the AI Act, which counts a lot, in fact, in the way we develop AI, in fact. And if I can take an example, we do a lot of things in explanation due to the fact that we have this article that mentions the right to have an explanation when personal data are used. So it's a way to really impact the kind of direction we can take in developing AI. And for me, it's not something that slow down the innovations. It can be also a way to have innovation, in fact, to have some regulation. So
maybe just as a last point, so of course, there is always a challenge on how to design governance in such a way that it is fostering technology and not preventing it, but at the same time protecting rights and civil liberties. And there is sometimes a tension between those, so that's undeniable. On the other hand, if you remember that we have these systems embedded in so many critical infrastructures, we better make sure that they are functioning properly in advance, because if we want to check it afterwards, it's going to be more costly. So I think this is also a response to making sure, because in the AI Act, you have a lot of regulation about who is responsible to check for what. Is it the deployer? Is it the developer? But if you are, let's say, a smaller company embedding generative AI in your products and services, you need to make sure that this is properly tested by the people developing it. If this is not required by law, it's not going to happen because it's costly. Data quality, reliability, security, this all costs. So you need to ensure that this is mandatory for some of the big players so that downstream other ones don't have to fear that they are being let down by the system. So I think it is important to keep this in mind, that this is not a luxury, but basically a necessity in order to also reliably use these systems if they are embedded so broadly into many systems.
Thank you. An additional question relates to, I think, what you have already touched upon, decentralized solutions using smaller data sets. So the question, to what extent is the development of AI a bottom-up process that's decentralized and can start from smaller data sets and maybe be more numerous against the conflict with a top-down structure where AI is promoted, developed, rolled out by major technology companies?
Both are possible. We can follow a top-down, bottom-up approach. we still relies on some knowledge coming from the big models. But for instance, when we developed the Croissant LLM models, we just take the architecture of the Llama, the small Llama model, and we collect a lot of French data. We train, and we clean this data. We train it on the national resources only. So it's possible to follow this top-down approach. And it's one of the good models in order to tackle a task in French. So it's a small part of task, but it's possible. But we still need to have the knowledge coming from what is happening with the huge and strong models. So both, for me, both are possible.
So just to add up on that, I think the more generic something is, the bigger the systems need to be and the larger the players will have to be, because then you need large amounts of data and you need the compute power in that regard. So I think there will be a certain concentration, especially for the more generic ones. You can have more local specialized solutions for smaller ones, but this was part of the reasons why I was advocating large open source model as a solution to have sort of like the foundation on which you then can build smaller, more nuanced application areas. The problem is, of course, the moment some of these smaller models, for instance, may be more sustainable because they need less compute power, but there are also dangers coming from that. They may be inheriting or having stronger biases than the parent model because you're basically strengthening and aggregating both what is learned, but also the biases. So what I'm trying to get at is, again, you need to look into the depth and the details of what you want. So for some of these more tiny solutions may be appropriate. For others, you need the larger ones. But then the question is, how can we have not many large ones, also for sustainability reasons, but few shared large ones on which you can then build on top?
Thank you. If it's okay with you, Arisa, we have maybe one final question before we enter the lunch break. And actually, one thing that I was thinking about, we had a conference last week, a gathering of professors teaching German studies at different Japanese universities. And that brings me to the question of how smart and educated do we have to be prepared for the AI future? Also as part of providing democratic access, what do we need? Because referencing this very event, the vast majority of professors, different age groups, didn't really either use AI at all or barely touch it. And these, of course, are educators, right? So they transmit values and ideas.
I think it's something which is part of what we have to do. It's to educate children, to educate teachers. It's something which is really important. It's also true for computer science. It's also true for a lot of technology, but I think that education is something that matters a lot. So we have to think, and there is some initiative to do that. So, but we have to support and to put emphasis on this initiative.
So, of course, I have to say that everybody needs to learn something about ethics and philosophy of science. Of course, that's part of my job description. But what I would also think everybody should probably have is some basic understanding of probability theory and statistics. The reason being that I think we can understand both the benefits and the shortcomings of many of the systems we are deploying only if we understand how probability works and what's the difference is between probability and something else. So if I have one wish, then I think it would be, but I shouldn't say this, but I think it is important to have some basic foundation. It doesn't have to go to the depth of it, but just to understand the gist of how probability works. That would already help, I think.
I actually I totally agree with the opinions about so maybe from the another aspect I can add is that we need to kind of figure out the people to kind of make the people, let the people to learn about, so how to incentivize the people to learn, how the AI works, or like the ethical issues, and also how to support the very busy teachers or the people who are actually working in the company to kind of I don't know, so to how to say, kind of to give them the chance or the time to learn again, or the reskilling the time. So I think that will be the important. And even I am very very busy catching up the latest technical issues, or the legal framework, or the ethical issue. It's really hard for me as a professor in the University of Tokyo. So it's somehow very difficult for the public, or even the person who actually engaged in the very busy work in everyday life, or so I think how to create the to let the people to incentivize to learn, and also to create the time, or to learn, or maybe support their learning environment would be very important. And I think that kind of thing should be also considered about what to learn, but also how to learn this artificial intelligence and society issues.
All right, yeah.
Just to give a concrete example, for sustainability, we have something which is named fresque du numérique. I don't know how to say that in English, fresque du numérique, which is an activity that enable people to be sensible to the problem of ecology, in fact. And we have the same kind of things for AI for now, and it's something that can really be used in order to educate the society to the problem, to the promise, but also to the issues and the risk of AI. So we have to promote this kind of initiative.
I think that's a good closing sentence. So thank you all very much for an insightful discussion. And a big round of applause, please. There are still many open questions that you didn't find answered. I'll post the link for this session on LinkedIn. If you want to, please do continue the discussion there. It's maybe the easiest place where to do that. We'll have a lunch break now until 1 o'clock. Please be here on time. It's a tight program today, many things to discuss. Lunch is prepared next door. You can also use this area here to eat. May I also ask all